Okay, I think it might be good enough to go ahead and start getting started. I'm going to put everybody on mute for now. Presenting today are me, Summer Helm, and Ben Miro from the ELC.
Hi.
Okay, Ben, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Miro. I'm the instructional designer on the McKinney campus. Today, we're going to be talking about inclusive design, engaging with an ever-evolving media culture. What this is about is keeping yourself, the instructor, available to trends in multimedia, which couldn't be anything gaming related, pop culture related, anything to meet the student where they live, so to speak.
Yep. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is an activity. Participation is not required, but it's expected, so it may be a little bit required. What I'm going to do is everybody is part of the group chat now. We're going to do the game Spot the Drowning Child. You might have heard of it. It became a little viral maybe 10 years ago. You get about a minute and a half to see in this interactive video if you can spot the child who's drowning. Now, disclaimer, no children are actually harmed in this video. There's lifeguards, and every time you see a lifeguard go out and get the child, that's how you know you've lost. You should be able to try to find the child before the lifeguard gets to that, but that's part of the fun. So the interactive part is if you want to help me figure out where to go, just type in the chat whether or not I should go to the right, to the left, up, down. The purpose of the game is try to find the child before the lifeguard does. Up, up, right, upper right, right here, this person. All clear, keep looking, let's keep going. Right side behind lady in pink bathing suit. Pink bathing suit, this lady, or right here, this kid. We got him, or got her. So this is just a little activity. Once you find the child, if you find them before or after, it doesn't matter, they give you information. Now, a few of you actually interacted with us and told me where to go in the group chat, but I did want to ask, how do you guys feel right now? Is your heart pumping? Are you paying attention? Are you looking at your phone? Or are you engaged? Part of what we're trying to show is that you can use things like media interactive video to engage your class and to teach them. So something like this, we can use Articulate, which is something that the ELC provides to make a video, and you can, I don't know, like if you're doing a driving class, you can show a car driving through a traffic situation. You can have your class help you point out traffic stops or dangerous situations that the car could get in, and they could try to do it in time. Or if you wanted to, yeah, I know it's a little scary. I feel pretty bad. If you wanted to, you could do something like Wheel Decide, which is, let me pull that up, which is another little interactive thing. It's nowhere near as traumatizing as this one seems to have been. You can type in your own, what's your favorite kind of cuisine? That's, I guess, the example they're giving us. But for your class, you can say something like, what do you want to do today? And you can have options like pop quiz or reading or I don't know what other options you could put, but you can have them spin the wheel and be part and participate in the class that they're in. And it'll get them engaged, it'll get them excited, it'll get them up and off their phone, and it's a way to use interactive media to do so.
That's an important thing to highlight, because outside of all of these products that we suggest or recommend, one of the key components that you can do for $0 is corral your students' interest. One of the things that play in that drowning child video is that it's immediate and it's urgent. So it gives them a little jolt of cortisol to be engaged. And that can be done even in a PowerPoint. You just need to think through it where it's applicable to the subject matter. So when I talk about meeting a student where they live, I'm talking about going through these boxes on your screen right now and trying to get to the cultural currency that'll make them feel participatory in the class. So that's utilizing gaming, mainstream media, social media, and everything in between those boxes, the through line between them. Summer, can you click the link?
Oh, yes.
So this is a short piece of a video about some education techniques happening in Singapore that we thought were relevant.
Is anybody else having issues with volume?
Yep, there's no sound on my end.
There's no sound on your end?
No.
So I'll go ahead and put this video in the chat box so that you can peruse it at any time. Basically, what the video shows is that if learning isn't fun, then it's not learning. And a big quote that they say later on is, back 20, 30 years ago, the teachers had the monopoly on education. And now education can be found everywhere. It can be found in social media. It can be found on YouTube. It could be found on websites, blogs. And the teachers don't have the monopoly anymore, but what they do have is they can curate the education and help the students figure out where they can find it.
So who's the competition? Who are we competing for students' attention with? Yep. And this is not only online, this is face-to-face. Imagine your students have 29 browsers up. So there's a lot out there. So one of the things to think about is, what are our students ingesting media-wise, and how can you repurpose it to suit your educational demands, needs, outcomes? So we found a couple of clips which are going to be not so great without sound, but we can kind of narrate them. Go ahead, Summer.
So this first clip is from Crazy Rich Asians, which is total pop culture right now. Everybody, or mostly everybody, knows Crazy Rich Asians. It shows you in a very small amount of time, I'm going to go ahead and mute it for myself, but in a very small amount of time, it shows you how social networking and the internet work these days. This is something that that a professor could take a whole semester, or maybe half a semester, maybe at least a week, just trying to teach their students how this works out. And in about a minute and a half, it's going to show you how it can work through visuals and through, if our sound worked, through sound. And I can go ahead and give this link to y'all so you can see it in case you're interested. This is just an example of how new media and pop culture can help educate and not just entertain. And let me go ahead and pop that link in there for anybody who's interested in seeing that. This Game of Thrones link, it's a little hard to show you without audio, but I can.
There's some graphics.
Yeah, there's some graphics. It's TED Ed, which, if you guys are big into TED Talks, TED Ed is the educational version of TED Talks. They focus on educational videos. And this video in particular is focusing on how they connect Game of Thrones with history and
The War of the Roses.
The War of the Roses, which is taking something that almost all of your students would know, Game of Thrones, and connecting it with a lesson, The War of the Roses, and making it interesting. And I'll pull up your other link, Ben.
So I teach film at Collin, and I have had to curate content for my course, and this is one of the avenues that I found is this YouTube channel that it is 100 years of film. So every, looks like few months, this channel provides a year in the history of film, and there's a 15-minute, 20-minute lesson behind it, and it's proved invaluable up to 1942, which is where they're still going. It's going to take a few years to get caught up, but one of the things I like about this is the curator of this channel will use modern film and draw a contrast between the year they're talking about it and the current films today and how they've been influenced. It's something that would probably take me myself hours to edit, whereas here it's readily available.
Oh, okay. So, I wonder how we're going to do this without audio. So I interviewed, I was part of an interview for a podcast. I got to interview a man named Robert Atkins. He helped in development for games like Duke Nukem, Half-Life, Star Trek, and he is currently working on a game to help kids with cancer in hospitals fight cancer. And it's all with the same kind of graphic and graphic design and money behind it as something like Duke Nukem or Half-Life, but it's with an educational goal. Oh, let me see if I can figure out how to include audio in this. Let's see. If I have audio, I could just turn it up. Thank you, Kim. Let's try that. Can y'all hear that?
Nope.
No. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and share that video as well. Not sure why the audio is not working. Oh, let's try this.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, Summer, can you turn up your volume?
Yeah. It's about as high as it can go. Kids playing video games who have cancer. Kids are playing this game at 8, 9 years old and getting all this, and we did, and we tested 10-year-olds. The thing that blew our minds, and we knew it, we always said, oh, games educate. But when a 10-year-old turns around to this collecting all these antibodies, you create an antigen that attracts cancer, and the killer T cells come and attack the cancer. And they're just repeating back all this stuff to you, like, holy crap, a 10-year-old is talking at a college level microbiology jargon. Can you guys hear that at all?
A bit. It's on the low side, but the caption is pretty good.
Okay. Here's the link again. What he's saying is that you'll have 10-year-old kids playing this video game, and they'll be talking at a microbiology level, talking about T cells and mitochondria and things that he personally found very difficult when he was in college. But these are 10-year-olds, and These are okay. Sorry, I'm reading your comments. So I guess you guys are hearing it from the mic. But so these are 10-year-olds that are so into the game. It's like World of Warcraft or Call of Duty. They're starting to learn the lingo just because they're being entertained by it. So even though this is educational, quote unquote educational, it doesn't matter to them because they're having fun. That's it. That I would, when you have a chance, I would take a look at that video. I'm sorry, the audio's not working.
And that podcast was created by 2 of our faculty here at McKinney. Something to keep in mind when the term gamification gets used, and then you see something like that, I have to always put a disclaimer up saying that to create a game of that magnitude takes hundreds and hundreds of man hours and a ton of personnel. I don't like to give the impression that you can drop by the ELC and we'll knock out a game of that quality, in a couple of weeks. Just a quick caveat. But hopefully we are seeing an uptick in educational games for all higher ed as well as K through 12.
and thinking in the form of games, you don't have to have a $1 million budget. You don't have to have $1 million software to be able to include games in your course. You can have something like Twine. I'll go ahead and share that on the chat as well. Twine is a free software that you can get. What it does is it lets you make choose your own adventure stories with pictures, any kind of thing. You can have basic HTML or no HTML experience, and it will help you make a choose your own adventure story, and then it will publish it on the web for you, and you can just share a link. So something like that, that's another way that you can, a simpler way, a free way that you can include games in your course. So this last little slide, it's a series of videos where instructors and teachers have their own suggestions on how to include social media in their course, which social media above all is the key when you come to pop culture and the younger generation. Since there is audio issue, I'll go ahead and I'll make up a list and share with everybody. If you've already typed in your first name and last name, I'll share with everybody after the webinar links to all of these videos so that you can see them for yourself. But a few of the videos have really good suggestions, like to use Pinterest as a way to turn in homework. One of the English teachers uses Pinterest and makes a hashtag for a Shakespeare play, and her students have to go out and take pictures of what they interpret a line from the Shakespeare play to mean. And so they'll take a picture of the sunset or of a cow in the valley and put in that hashtag, and she'll be able to see it and grade off of it. And it includes, and it makes the kids think, and it makes them interact, and it's a little bit different from just raising your hand in class.
It also gives those students who are less likely to raise their hand in class the opportunity to participate if they can, do it from the comfort of their phone. In my class, I use a social media platform called Letterboxd, which is just focused on movies and film. So you can put in, I saw a movie on Wednesday, and leave a little review. And so I have my students friend me on Letterboxd so that I can see their reviews, they can see mine, and I've gotten a lot more interaction there than actually in the classroom. Now that's a specific service, but same general idea.
So I'm going to try to see if I can share, if I can play just one video. It looks like. That's okay. I'll send everybody a link. Yeah, I'll send everybody a link to all the different YouTube videos at the end.
So there are lots of things out there, lots of products, and pretty much any amount of money you wanted to spend, you could. And you can find tons of free stuff, depending on what you want to do. But one of the simple, easiest, cheap things to do is use the cultural currency that you have by keeping in touch with pop culture and memes, things like that. I know people in academia will, cringe to hear me say this, but lecturing is, whether it's online or face-to-face, there is performative to a large degree. And being able to hold your audience's interest is vital. One of the things I did just super quick on the Canvas side of my course is face-to-face, but I keep everything in Canvas, in modules, and I will, even if it's something like read chapter 15, I'll put a GIF or a meme so that when they get there to that module, they know that I thought about it. I made even a static page in Canvas somehow not boring, for lack of a better word. It's not just, here, read this. I put in something to let them know that we're on the same wavelength. I care about them being engaged, and here you go. Here's a joke that's relevant to whatever we're watching this week. And that cost me nothing but a little bit of time. Another suggestion is if you are not on Twitter, Twitter is maybe easier to keep track of hashtags and trends and things going on that your students will be keyed into so that you can, again, throw them a little bit of relevance in your lecture or in your activities.
And another suggestion, now we can't make those video games again, but we can help you with course media, the ELC. I do have faculty that have come to me to try to create course media that would help with subjects that they couldn't get to in a face-to-face lecture. Let's say you're face-to-face, you spend a lot of time in discussion or debate, and you just don't have the time to go over one particular subject that's very important. Well, I've had faculty come over and say, can I just make a small little video of me explaining this one formula or this one equation or this one passage in a book, and then I can post it on YouTube, and anytime somebody asks me that question, I could send them the link, or I could put it in my Canvas so that they can go back after the class is done and take a look at the extra videos. And that's another way that you can get some sort of media, some sort of interaction there.
So I'm going to unmute the chat, and I want to hear from you guys about strategies, things you do in your courses to engage or to bring the students, meet them halfway, so to speak. You're all unmuted.
Or if you have any questions or anything.
Okay. Your username is going to be your first initial, your last name, and a number.
I got it.
And the password is going to be the last 6 digits of your college-wide ID.
We're always working at the ELC. Does anybody have any kind of questions or suggestions?
I've been using TED Talks a lot, but I like the idea of videos that are more interactive.
Yep. And there's, we mentioned Articulate, but Camtasia also has the way to like embed hotspots onto videos. And Canvas will host it. I mean, you can load it into your Canvas. Hosting's the wrong word, but yes, doable.
John says in chat, I try to have at least 2 videos in each lecture discussion. That's fantastic. That keeps everybody engaged. Dr. Jones says Kahoot and quizzes, especially for those who enjoy being competitive.
Yep.
This is Anne. I'm putting in the chat box. Flipgrid is an app that's available through Canvas. It's integrated into our Canvas LMS, and it's a tool that allows you to have threaded discussions, but that they are all video and audio based. And my two sections are really enjoying it.
Oh, cool.
That's wonderful.
Melody has a good question in chat. She says, I often pull things off YouTube, but is there any kind of copyright violation I need to be aware of? Good question.
So the copyright sheet that I have says that if you are going to replicate or duplicate media, you can do it at there's a certain amount that you can do, and for education it's very flexible. But if you're going to, let's say you're going to replicate or copy the entire Lord of the Rings, the first movie of Lord of the Rings, and post it online,
Yep.
you have to, one, own that video that you copied it off of. You can't get a copy off of YouTube or somewhere where you didn't buy it yourself. But you can also, you can't use the whole video.
Can I interject right here? So John Leonard, who's the digital librarian, he actually just put about 10 movies streaming on the servers for the drama department to use in film courses. So if you have copyright questions about media, John Leonard is definitely the guy to talk to. I screened Do the Right Thing for my course Saturday from that server, and it was a great HD copy, totally perfect. Way to go, John.
So we have from Susan Evans, I have my students create their own presentation on a topic, and they come to class and put their PowerPoint or video together as a class. Then they teach their part to the rest of the class. Last week they presented vaping. I learned a lot from my students. That's a fantastic idea, having them put it together as a class. Elsie Robertson says, I don't have a mic. My courses, art history and art appreciation, are image-based, so we are typically discussing for the majority of the class. I also show short Khan Academy clips, which Khan Academy is fantastic. I often incorporate parodies of famous works of art. We frequently reference pop culture since art frequently appears everywhere. For instance, in my art history class, we are talking about the Byzantine art and the Church of Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. Next week, we'll talk about the contemporary references. For example, the Game of Thrones designers used it as an inspiration for the church at King's Landing. See, that's fantastic. That's a great way to connect with the younger generation, especially giving them a contemporary reference to something historical is fantastic. Francis Choi says if you only use a small portion of media, not a hit movie or hit song, under the fair use for education provision of the copyright law, there's usually not a big concern.
Hey, Neil. I see your question about trimming snippets from DVDs. I actually ran into this, but not with a faculty, but with a staff member. Anytime we have to rip a DVD, like a protected DVD, that's unfortunately a no-go. I would suggest just finding those clips online from YouTube, which are probably pretty safe. Somebody's typing.
I can hear that.
So Courtney uses the announcements on Canvas as extra credit opportunities. Oh, that's great. Usually involves answering a question about current content, something we did in class, or something I asked them to watch online. I then take the first 3 correct answers, which I mention in the announcement as well. That's great. It's an interactive announcement. That's fantastic.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other ideas or questions?
Yes.
Excuse me. So Elsie Robertson put a link. Movie clips on YouTube is best for clips. That's in case you guys need clips for any of your courses. And Anne says using the embed media tool in Canvas is my friend.
That's sad, Anne. We're your friends too.
Now, unless anybody else has any other questions or suggestions, I'd like to share in the group chat a SurveyMonkey form. If you could fill that out, that would be fantastic, just to tell us, it's a program evaluation, just to tell us how you like the webinar, if there's any way that we can improve, if there's any subjects that you would prefer. So please, when you have a moment, fill that out and let us know.
Yes, Susan, we'll be sending these links to all of you.
Well, I'll be emailing it to everybody instead of putting it in the chat box, because this chat box might go away in a few minutes. So I'll send out an email to everybody with the links. John says, one challenge I have had is getting closed captioning on videos that don't have it already. I have access CART students. Now for closed captioning, YouTube has automatic closed captioning, and it's not always the best. I don't know, Ben, on that one, do you have any suggestions on that one?
I mean, it depends who created the video. I mean, they're really in charge of turning on their closed caption or not. If it's something that you're putting on YouTube, you can turn on the closed caption and adjust it so that it can be accurate. But yeah, it's kind of still the Wild West on YouTube.
Andrew Campbell says you can edit the automatically created captions to fix mistakes. So for that, would you edit that in your own YouTube profile, and it would save whenever you linked it on Canvas? I'm not sure. Andrew, did you hear that? Oh, yeah, the videos you created and uploaded. Okay, so if you created and uploaded your own videos on YouTube, you can edit the closed captioning that YouTube automatically gives it. But for other people's videos, you can't do that.
Yeah, you're at their mercy, whatever they turned on.
All right, well, Ben, did you have anything else?
We should point out that this entire presentation was curated content Summer and I cobbled together.
Yeah,
So
it would be nice if you could hear it. I'm so sorry about that.
we'll send you links.
Yes. Thank you, John. You rock too. All right. Well, if that's it, I'll be sending out links in a few minutes to everything. Thank you so very much for participating and for watching. Really appreciate it.
Hit our PayPal. Just kidding. If y'all want to talk about any kind of multimedia creation, just come on by, make an appointment. All of our ELCs are happy to get that discussion going. Like and subscribe.
And I'm going to go ahead and post the evaluation link one more time just in case. And I'll put it in the email as well. All right, y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.